It's been hard, it's been hard for her two beautiful kids. It's been hard for the grandmother. It's been hard. It's not easy, no child wants to feel like they've been abandoned, by their mother. They know their mother, they love their mother. They know that their mother would never leave them unless it was by force or somebody else's choice.
As investigators continue to look for clues, the Aiken County Sheriff's Office is asking anyone with information to reach out.
Help me. Please help me. Those were the desperate words captured in a 911 call on December 2nd, 2023. In the background, Jamilla Shanae Smith could be heard screaming as her abuser ordered her into a car. That call was the last time anyone would hear her voice. The next time authorities found Jamilla, she was lying in a wooded area with multiple gunshot wounds to her head. This isn't just another story of domestic violence. This is a story of a system that repeatedly fails women like Jamilla. A story of a mother of two who tried to escape her abuser, only to be silenced forever. A story of not one, but three men who conspired to end her life and conceal her murder. In this episode, we're going to walk you through the exact timeline of events that led to Jamilla's death. We'll show you the evidence that was discovered in her killer's car trunk. We'll reveal how her ex-boyfriend Daniel Harmon, along with his accomplices Brian Hampton Jr. and Clyde Henley II, thought they could get away with murder. And we'll examine how this tragedy could have been prevented. Before we continue, if you're new here, my channel focuses on giving voices to victims who can no longer speak for themselves. If you believe in justice and want to help keep these stories alive, please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Every subscription helps us reach more people and potentially save lives by raising awareness about domestic violence. Now, let's tell Jamilla's story. Let's say her name.
Smith continues to seek answers as the death investigation continues after she disappeared in December. Last year, the search for Jamilla turned into a homicide case. Her ex-boyfriend, Daniel Harmon, is in custody, charged with murder, kidnapping, and other drug charges. Arrest warrants show that on December 2nd, Jamilla's last phone call to 911 mentioning her ex-boyfriend allegedly breaking into her house, screaming, and eventually being run over before the end of the call. The next day, her family reported her missing. As law enforcement continues their investigation, they do not believe Jamilla is alive. A family member says the past few months have been difficult for the family and especially Smith's children.
Jamilla Shanae Smith was 30 years old when her life was cut short. A resident of Aiken County, South Carolina, she was known to everyone as a devoted mother to her two children. Those who knew her described Jamilla as resilient, determined, and above all, a loving mother who would do anything to protect her kids. Like many victims of domestic violence, Jamilla's life was a complex balance of hope and fear. She worked hard to provide for her children, dreaming of a future where they would be safe and secure. She had plans and aspirations that extended beyond the confines of her abusive relationship. Friends recall how she would talk about going back to school, finding a better job, and creating a stable home environment where her children could thrive. What made Jamilla remarkable wasn't just her dreams, but her courage. Despite the fear that must have consumed her daily life, she continued to fight for her freedom. She made the difficult decision that many abuse victims struggle with. She tried to leave. Statistics show that leaving an abuser is the most dangerous time for victims of domestic violence, with the risk of homicide increasing by 75% when a victim attempts to escape. Jamilla knew these risks, yet she still tried to break free. Her mother and siblings were her support system, the people she turned to when things got difficult. They witnessed her struggles firsthand, saw the bruises she tried to hide, and heard the tremor in her voice when she spoke about Daniel Harmon. They were also the first to sound the alarm when she went missing, knowing instinctively that something terrible had happened. Jamilla wasn't just a statistic. She wasn't just one of the 3 women killed every day in America by a current or former intimate partner. She was a daughter, a sister, a friend, and most importantly, a mother whose children now face life without her guidance and love.
Person's case to a murder case. We're learning new details about what led up to those charges. It's been a little more than 3 weeks since 30-year-old Jamilla Smith's mom reported her missing. Authorities say she was last heard by a 911 operator screaming and saying her ex-boyfriend was breaking into her home. Investigators arrested her ex, 34-year-old Daniel Harmon, days after Jamilla Smith went missing, charging him with kidnapping and domestic violence. He's still in jail tonight, and Audrey Dickerber is live from our newsroom to break down what we've learned now that his charges have been upgraded to murder.
Unfortunately, Jamilla's family did not get the news they were hoping for this holiday season. According to an affidavit released on Saturday, this investigation went from a missing persons case to now being a homicides case. And an arrest warrant is revealing new details as to why.
Daniel Gabriel Harmon, 34, entered Jamilla's life like many abusers do. Not as a monster, but as someone charming and attentive. But the relationship quickly revealed its true nature. What began as controlling behavior escalated into a pattern of abuse that would eventually claim Jamilla's life. Court records and family testimonies paint a disturbing picture of the relationship between Jamilla and Harmon. There were multiple documented incidents of domestic violence, creating a paper trail that should have served as a red flag to authorities. Neighbors reported hearing arguments that would escalate into physical confrontations. Friends noticed how Jamilla would become increasingly isolated, cutting off contact for periods of time, a classic sign of an abuser exerting control. The relationship had become what experts call a cycle of violence. Periods of tension building, followed by violent outbursts, then remorse and reconciliation, only for the cycle to begin again. Each time, the violence escalated. Each time, the danger to Jamilla increased. By late 2023, Jamilla had reached her breaking point. She had begun taking steps to permanently separate from Harmon. She confided in family members about her fears. She was making plans to ensure her children's safety. She was doing everything right, according to the advice given to victims of domestic violence. But the most dangerous time for any victim is when they try to leave. Abusers, faced with losing control, often escalate to lethal violence. For them, it's a simple, terrifying equation. If they can't control their victim, they'll make sure no one else can either. The days leading up to December 2nd showed all the warning signs of this lethal escalation. Harmon's behavior became increasingly erratic and threatening. Jamilla's fear was palpable to those around her. She knew she was in danger, but like so many victims, she found herself trapped between fear and the hope of freedom. I want to pause here and ask, have you ever known someone in an abusive relationship? Have you seen the warning signs but felt helpless to intervene? Share your experiences in the comments below. Your insight might help someone recognize these patterns in their own life or the life of someone they care about. The last hour of Jamilla Shanae Smith. Every murder leaves behind a trail. Moments where someone could have stepped in, words that could have changed everything. For 27-year-old Jamilla Shanae Smith, those moments stretched across months. Warnings ignored. Pleas dismissed. Fear documented in reports that would later read like a prophecy. Jamilla was a mother of two from Aiken County, South Carolina. Strong, loving, and determined to build a better life for her children. But behind closed doors, she was living in quiet terror. Her boyfriend, Daniel Harmon, had once been charming. Over time, that charm hardened into control. Checking her phone, isolating her from friends, turning every disagreement into a threat. By the time she realized she needed to leave, he'd already made it clear, if she walked away, she'd pay the price. In the months leading up to her death, Jamilla tried to protect herself the way victims are told to. She filed police reports. She went to the hospital. She called for help. But each attempt ended the same way, with promises, paperwork, and no protection. Once, she showed up at the ER bruised and shaking, telling doctors her boyfriend had pushed her down the stairs. He said, if I tell anyone, next time I won't wake up. The hospital notified police, but Jamilla was too scared to press charges. Another time, neighbors called 911 after hearing her scream, "Please don't kill me." Officers came late, found her bloodied and terrified, but left after she said she was handling it. In November, she told deputies that Harmon had held a gun to her head, even showed them text messages that read, "I'll put you in the ground before I let you leave me." But again, they said there wasn't enough evidence. No arrest. No restraining order. No follow-up. By December, Jamilla was trying to escape. She planned to move in with her mother, Shanice, and take her children until things cooled down. The night before she died, she told her mom over the phone, "He says if I leave, he'll find me. He says he'd rather see me dead than with someone else." Her mother begged her to stay, but Jamilla insisted she'd only be gone an hour, just long enough to grab some clothes while Harmon was at work. The next morning, she dropped her kids off with her mom. She hugged them longer than usual and said, "I'll be right back." Those would be her last words to them. When Jamilla arrived home, she noticed her front door had been kicked in. She texted her sister, "Door looks messed up. Going to check if it's safe." Her sister replied instantly, "Don't go in. Call the police." But Jamilla never answered. Surveillance cameras later showed her stopping by a convenience store for a bottle of water, glancing over her shoulder like she knew someone was following her. What happened next was pieced together from phone records, security footage, and witness statements. Harmon had found out she was leaving him. His messages became unhinged. Threats, accusations, rage. When she told him it was over, he replied, "Nothing's over until I say it's over." Minutes later, neighbors saw his red Dodge Charger parked near her apartment. They heard shouting, then silence. Jamilla managed to call 911, her voice panicked and breathless. The dispatcher could barely make out the words through the chaos. "Help me, please. He's going to kill me. Daniel Har." Then the line went dead. When police arrived, the door was open. The apartment was a wreck, a broken lamp, overturned furniture, and Jamilla's phone shattered on the floor. But she was gone. Investigators later learned Harmon had forced her into his car and driven toward the rural outskirts of Aiken County. What happened there was brutal. She fought for her life. Her autopsy later revealed defensive wounds, broken nails, bruised knuckles. She was shot 3 times in the head at close range. The first shot wasn't immediately fatal. Evidence showed she had been kneeling when he pulled the trigger. But Harmon wasn't alone. After killing Jamilla, he called 2 friends, Brian Hampton Jr. and Clyde Hendley II. They met him in the woods near Silver Bluff Road, bringing bleach, trash bags, and shovels. They didn't call police. They didn't try to stop him. Together, they tried to erase her. The next morning, when Jamilla didn't return for her kids, her mother knew something was wrong. She called police, reminding them of all the reports, all the threats, all the warnings. But by then, Harmon had already cleaned his car, washed his clothes, and started pretending he was worried. He left voicemails for Jamilla, the kind killers leave when they want to seem innocent. "Where are you? I'm getting worried." He knew no one would ever pick up.
Of Aiken, deputies say the remains of the missing mother Jamilla Smith have been found. In the new report from the sheriff's office, they say developments in the case led investigators to a wooded area on Silver Bluff Road earlier today. Our Hallie Turner is live at the sheriff's office now. Hallie, this has been months in the making. What do we know right now?
Yeah, so right now the investigation is still ongoing. We know that it's been about 5 months since Jamilla Smith vanished off Old Jackson Highway from where she lived in Aiken County at her home. 3 people since have been arrested. Daniel Harmon, Brian Hampton Jr., and Clyde Hendley were all arrested as a result of this investigation. But let's take it back a little bit. It all started on December 2nd. The affidavit details showed that Jamilla's last phone call to 911 mentioned her ex-boyfriend allegedly breaking into her home, screaming, and she eventually ran over before the end of the call. On December 3rd, the affidavit then notes that her mom, Tina McCraw, reported her missing, and the next day, on December 4th, the press release from the Aiken County Sheriff's Office noted both Jamilla and Daniel Harmon as missing. December 5th, the affidavit mentions the Sheriff's Office finding Harmon with his missing black Dodge Charger at a property off Carpentersville Road in North Augusta. Then on December 6th, the affidavit details an executed search warrant on the Dodge Charger with suspected blood found inside of the trunk and parts of blood on a spare tire also inside the trunk. Now, according to the arrest warrants, Brian Hampton Jr. did help Daniel Harmon with disposing of Jamilla's body, they believe, from anywhere from the timeline of December 2nd to December 4th. But again, they just arrested a 3rd person, Clyde Hendley,
as an accessory after the fact to her murder. So a lot going on in this case, but coming up all new tonight on News 12 at 6 o'clock, we're hearing from the Aiken County Sheriff's Office and the private investigator who's speaking on behalf of Tina. That's the mom's side of Jamilla's family. Just the closure that they are being able to provide and the start to healing.
Okay, still a lot to learn here, Hallie. Thanks for the update there live at the Aiken County Sheriff's Office.
December 4th, 2023. During questioning, Harmon maintained his innocence with practiced calm. "I haven't seen her in days," he insisted, his voice steady. But Detective Sarah Morales noticed something the others missed. Tiny specks of what looked like dried blood under his fingernails. When she pointed them out, Harmon claimed he'd cut himself at work. His story was beginning to unravel. That night, an anonymous tip came in. A woman who identified herself only as a friend of Jamilla's told police she had seen Harmon cleaning out his car trunk at 2 a.m. on December 3rd. "He was scrubbing like his life depended on it," she said. "I knew something wasn't right." December 5th, 2023. Armed with the tip and mounting inconsistencies in Harmon's story, detectives secured a warrant to search his vehicle. When detectives finally searched his car, the truth was impossible to hide. Under blacklight, blood glowed across the trunk floor. Hair matching Jamilla's was stuck in the lining. Her earring was found wedged between the seats. Harmon didn't flinch when confronted. "You can't prove whose blood that is," he said. But they could. It was hers. Police arrested him for murder, kidnapping, and domestic violence. His accomplices were charged as accessories after the fact. At first, one of them agreed to lead investigators to Jamilla's body, but the area was empty when they arrived. For 5 months, her family lived without answers. Her mother couldn't sleep. Her children kept asking, "When is mommy coming home? Why can't we find her?" No one had the heart to tell them that she was already gone. Then, on a quiet afternoon in May 2024, a man walking his dog near Silver Bluff Road stumbled upon a shallow grave. Beneath the leaves and soil were human remains. Dental records confirmed what everyone already feared. It was Jamilla Shanae Smith. She had been out there for months, left to the elements by the man who once said he loved her. The bullets pulled from her skull matched the gun registered to Daniel Harmon. He didn't just end her life. He made sure her children would grow up without their mother, and her mother would bury her only daughter. Jamilla's story isn't about a system. It's about a woman who did everything she could to survive, who asked for help again and again, and still died at the hands of a man who swore he'd never let her go. She was a mother, a daughter, and a survivor who ran out of chances long before she ran out of courage. Say her name, Jamilla Shanae Smith. She tried to leave, but leaving him was the most dangerous thing she could have ever done. Jamilla Shanae Smith wanted peace. Not perfection, not promises, just peace. But the man she once loved, Daniel Gabriel Harmon, couldn't handle losing control. When Jamilla vanished in May 2024, her family knew something was wrong. Her phone went silent. Her social media stopped. Her kids asked questions no mother should leave unanswered. And when police finally found her remains, the truth was more horrifying than anyone imagined. Blood in the trunk of Harmon's car. Forensic evidence tying him to the scene. A man who once said he loved her, now facing murder, kidnapping, and domestic violence charges. But what came next was even harder to watch. The people who helped him. 2 others, Hampton and Hendley, were charged as accessories after the fact, accused of helping cover up what he did. Because silence is also a weapon. The case shook their North Carolina community to its core. How did a woman crying out for help fall through every crack in the system? How many warnings were ignored? Jamilla had filed reports before. She'd tried to protect herself. But like too many women, she was met with words, not action. And now, her children are left without a mother. Her family, without answers. Her name, added to a list far too long. As of now, Harmon's trial is ongoing. If convicted, he faces life in prison. But even if justice is served, it will never bring Jamilla back. Because what was taken from her was not just life, it was legacy. Jamilla Shanae Smith was more than a victim. She was a mother, a daughter, a sister, and a woman who deserved to grow old in peace. Her story isn't just another headline. It's a reminder that behind every statistic is a heartbeat, a dream, a name that mattered. If this story moved you, please like, share, and subscribe. Not for numbers, but for awareness. Every click helps her name reach another timeline, another heart, another chance to make someone listen before it's too late. This is Say Her Name, where we say their names, tell their stories, and keep their voices alive. Say Her Name. Jamilla Shanae Smith.